welcome back, and our apologies again for that technical error which led to a small break. We're going to recap where we started off from a couple of minutes ago, Toivo. So let's just share the results as they stand at the moment.
Okay, so let's jump into the presidential vote. Let's just put it in that chronology where a while ago, the President Geingob had 44%. So he just jumped to 46 now, followed by Dr. Itula at 33% of the vote, and then Clinton Swartboy in the third position, followed by Venani and UDF, Mr. Auchab, just in the fifth position there. At the very bottom, we see there is Mukwilongo of Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters, and Shihwameni of APP in the second last position there. So again, the reminder is that Mr. Maj, third from bottom, and Mr. Mukwilongo here had previously attempted to abandon their presidential bid, urging voters at the time to vote for the independent candidate. So let's quickly check at National Assembly election results. So far we have 87,000 votes counted. SWAPO with a healthy lead of 46,000 votes, just about half of the total votes cast. So the party is not doing particularly well, but of course, like Danny was saying earlier, we expect that these results will pick up later in the day, maybe especially when the SWAPO strongholds come in later. At the very bottom is NPF with only 314 votes, followed by Martin Lukato's party at 389%. Not percent, but votes counted. That is the recap so far, Danny.
Thank you, Toivo, and we just want to remind you as well and emphasize, remember there's more than 80% of results, even close to 90% that's still outstanding, and we're going to keep you abreast later this afternoon on that statistics. We want to again show you an update. This one comes from Tsumeb, and the journalist updating us is Algeto Greg.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Okito Greg. I write for Republican and for NMH. I'm here at the Oshikoto regional offices in Tsumeb, and we are all waiting in tension and suspense while the ECN officials are in the back finalizing the coalition and the putting together of the results from yesterday's election. There have been technical issues with the EVMs, which has delayed the process, and right now all the officials are locked up in a room in the constituency building, and the observers are there and the police are there. They are all busy collecting the results and fixing the problems with the EVMs. So we wait in tension, and we will be reporting back to you as soon as they release the results. Thank you for your patience, and see you later. Goodbye.
Yes, that report came in not that long ago, so hopefully that problem has been sorted out already. Up next, Janne-Marie Smith. She's in Otjiwarongo, and she spoke to Laimi Onesmus, who's the regional coordinator for ECN in the Otjiwarongo region.
My name is Laimi Onesmus. I'm the regional coordinator for Otjiwarongo region for the Electoral Commission of Namibia. We just had concluded our presidential and our National Assembly. When it comes to my staff, these are the first people I have to really thank from the bottom of my heart. Tireless, they've been working day and night, and for weeks the training was not very easy. It was tough. some people had to learn new skills, especially with machines, but they've made it. We didn't have problems. We kept on reinforcing whatever we were teaching them. And I just have to say thank you to them all sleeping here nights. And we've been up for almost 48 hours now. But yes, we have delivered. As I want to say thank you very much. It's our men in uniform. They have been fantastic. They have been carrying us through. They've made sure things are safe. And thanks for the nation to come out and vote.
Now that is reported by Jana Marie Smith. Toivo, I think so very important in that clip is a thank you. Thank you to the ECN officials who are on duty. Thank you to the police officers. Thank you to people that voted. And yes, and I don't think it's contradictory. Of course, we must be critical of the ECN when things go wrong. And nothing is perfect maybe, but we should strive to be better. But yet from our side as well, thank you very much to people who voted and those people who really did their jobs well.
Agreed, Danny. I think those officials in particular, remember the ECN that we are criticizing here for the few things that have happened so far is the institution itself. But I think there are people, men and women in the system itself on the ground that have done a splendid job, and those need to be thanked.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it wasn't only a few problems, because that would be the worst of Mr. Muyoro. Hopefully, as the time goes on, we'll get a proper full picture of where things didn't go according to plan. We are welcoming to studio Esther Kamati and Justicia Shipena, another two of our young journalists who reported a long day of voting yesterday. Welcome, guys, and share with us maybe what was for you the personal highlight of yesterday.
Thank you, Danny and Toivo, for welcoming us and, of course, having us in studio. It's always a pleasure. For me, the highlight would be just seeing the two different worlds, because yesterday we were out in the field in the hot sun, and then here we are today seated in studio in the aircon. So being on the ground was very interesting for me, because it's an event, so to say, like no other, because normally as journalists we go to events, but nothing is really quite like elections. So the whole experience for me was something brand new. I've never had to cover elections before. I must say I really enjoyed it, especially a clip of Justicia who was reporting in Khomasdal, where she captured a young boy who was queuing up with his mother, and he was so excited. And for me, that just captured an element of humanity and kind of embracing and instilling this energy of voting and nationalism in the young generation. So that was a highlight for me, even though I wasn't there. So thank you to everybody in studio that brought those clips to everybody else that couldn't physically be at every location.
Thank you so much for having me in studio. I think for me the highlight for the elections was seeing how, even though it's an election, it had a bit of how the community still cared for one another. When I was in the Khomasdal polling station, you could see there was a lady distributing bananas. So she came to the polling station and then she left, and she came back with the bananas to give the people lining up. And it was really just, my heart felt full, and that was one of the highlights I had. And also being there as a journalist out in the field was a great experience, because I learned a lot, and I've got to see different personalities and how people handle themselves in different ways. Although some people were not calm and some people were a bit out of hand, it was a wonderful experience.
So, well, what time did you guys finish covering the events? So did you go right into the evening, or when did you sort of stop covering the events?
Okay, so we were at different constituencies, and then we somehow linked up. So we found ourselves at the CCN in Katutura, that's the Council of Churches, and we were there from the afternoon hours around 4 5, 6 o'clock, and we stayed there up until around 9 o'clock, where they were lining up, because they said after 9 an officer will stand behind the last voter until they have all been assisted. But unfortunately we couldn't capture that because the lights went off and people started using generators, and it became slightly chaotic, so we had to leave. So around 9ish is when we left.
Just a quick one before we let you go, ladies. So you are young reporters, just coming up in the industry also, and being thrown in the deep end like that. Was it some sort of baptism of fire? Did you enjoy yourselves? Do you want more of that in the future?
I think events such as those are necessary, and when they're thrown to us, we need to embrace it, because you can't just be a journalist on paper. I mean, anybody can write a column, but it takes tough skin and a heart for you to actually be on the ground and encounter these different personalities and learn to deal with people. Because we even encountered a group of people that told us, no, you are not allowed to take pictures of us, you shouldn't film us, why didn't you ask for permission? And that's how you kind of learn, because you need to respect these people's rights. You are a journalist, and yes, you need to bring content, but people are also entitled to their opinions, and if they don't want to be shown, they don't want to be shown. So that was an experience of a lifetime, as I said, and I appreciate it, because had I not been thrown into the field, I wouldn't have learned or seen the things on the ground that I have experienced.
Justicia, before we get back to you then, looking beyond the scope of our work as journalists, but you are also two very young ladies. She's already mentioned that she hasn't covered the election before, but I think it's also the first election you are part of since you turned 18 years old. So how was it in that context for you, a special experience?
For me, the elections, I had to do my research before. I'm a first-time voter as well, but before I had to cast my vote, I had to do my research ever since August, and I joined this political group where we had to speak about politics and would send each other manifestos from 2014 and just discussed on how you would come about when the actual day comes. And this really helped a lot, even though I would advise for the next elections for my fellow youth to do the same, because it really helps much better. And for me, being thrown in the deep end is really a nice thing. What my team always says is Fatum Bedi Bosch and Tripolom. So that's one thing that you have it and you go with the flow and you learn a lot.
Brilliant. That was Esther and Justicia. And that bit of Afrikaans, Toivo, I must tell you, we've heard Afrikaans not only yesterday but this morning again. We heard Afrikaans all the way there from Keetmanshoop, and the election official, Mr. Winston, speaking there. Jemima Bekes Skyping from in front of that well-known statue in Keetmanshoop with the sheep herder and the Karakul sheep. We've heard Afrikaans from a Rehoboth, from a worker there. And so, yeah, I know I work for an Afrikaans paper, but the language and the way we speak it and make it our own in different groups is really something special.
Very important. I think diversity, embracing all the cultures. We are Namibians after all, and it's good when a person can say a word or two in another language. It really just creates a different feeling.
Now, I must think now about the comedian Lazarus Jacobs. Who is his former sidekick? I see when,
Mr. Basson.
Yeah, Neville Basson. Now, they would tell me, Danny Boysen, immediately, but you Afrikaans people, you must also respect and use the other languages of this lovely country of ours. So, ja, Lazarus en Neville, julle is heeltemal on het reg. Voor ons gaan groet, before we are going to say goodbye for lunch, also, what stands out for me from what Justicia and Esther has just told us about their experience, that elections are, it's about politics, but about much more as well, about a basic part of humanity.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we see some of those negative aspects of humanity, but I think they were very few compared to what we sometimes see in other countries in in the world. So an election is also a celebration.
It is. You know, I could relate properly to how they are feeling about having participated in their first election. I think I first voted in 2004 when I was only my second year at university, and it was a different feeling, very, very special. So I understand the excitement, not only by the two of them, but by the youth in general.
Thank you very much, Toivo. It's now shortly before 1 o'clock, and as you will see there in the ticker on our screen, we are updating the official results from ECN as they are coming in. And you can also see there in the top corner where you can go to visit the results as they change, elections.my.na. It's a pleasure to have been in your company, and please rejoin us at 2 o'clock.